Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I am just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. The music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos beach, and then there's the El Dorado Restaurant and Beach Club right next door, so you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are going to meet a couple of podcasters in paradise. AJ and ZiZi, they are expats who do that digital nomad kind of thing in Puerto Vallarta. These two wonderful people have a really cool story. We're going to find out how they make ends meet. What they eat, what their perspectives are as foreigners living in Mexico, as well as being podcasters, doing a podcast in Mexico. I also just got back from 10 days in paradise as well, so I have some news to get to and some announcements to make. But before we get to AJ and ZiZi, let's see what's happening this week, the 30th of August, 2022. Well, it's almost been a year now. The evening of the 20th of August and into the morning hours of the 29th last year, that was when Hurricane Nora hit, and when daylight revealed the after effects, it was pretty outrageous. It was pretty horrendous. Roads and bridges had collapsed. 62-year-old Insurgentes Bridge was swamped and buckled, and sand and mud swept all over the Isla Quale and all over the streets, and all along the river there was debris from trees and bushes and car tires, you name it. And then, of course, it all washed off into sea. The basements of the houses and the businesses that are along the river, and those close by and radiating maybe several blocks out from both sides of the Rio Quale, became filled with water, filled with mud, basically ruining merchandise and ruining furniture and people's personal belongings. It was a horrific time. In Playa Grande and in Pitial, homes slid into the raging Pitial River as the residents and bystanders could basically do nothing more than just watch as the sandy banks of the river basically gave way to the torrent, inch by painful inch. And 2 souls were lost in town. Curo, the son of Arancia from Babalbar, and the young lady whose car fell into the river up in Paso Ancho, whose body was never found. I'm sorry, I don't know her name. I'm sure I should be looking that up. But unless you were near the rivers, the hurricane was a total dud for most people in town. Most people went to bed, never really realizing what had actually happened meteorologically. The hurricane, instead of slamming into the coastline, did an end around and ended up pouring rain up in the hills in the town of Quale. And the downpour basically flooded the Pitial and Quale rivers and just turned them into walls of water. I remember the event very well because I was sitting in the airport waiting for my flight to Puerto Vallarta, and I was reading about it, horrified at the news as to what was going on the ground. And when I arrived later on that afternoon, no less than 20 hours after Nora hit, it was a pretty surreal experience. Well, the bridge finally was completed just a few months back. I think it was in February, and it's a very sturdy bridge at that. They also completed the rock walls that line the riverbanks from the Mercado Municipal, where the corner of that building cracked during that rain, during Nora's nasty rain. And basically both sides of the river and the riverbanks have been reinforced with a rock wall, and that extends all the way from the bridge all the way to the ocean. I have pictures of the reinforced riverbank that I took from the footbridge over the Rio Quale, the one that when you're got the ocean to your back and you're facing Oscars over on the island there. I'll have those pictures in the show notes, as well as a couple of pictures from last year's flooding and the mud and all that nasty stuff that I took last year. Speaking of flooding, there is plenty of rainfall right now in Puerto Vallarta. It rained almost every evening that I was in town, with a couple really big downpours thrown in for good measure at that. Strangely enough, I did not have one single mosquito bite the entire trip, which I find pretty amazing. I didn't even break out the mosquito repellent the entire trip, which I don't know. I don't know what's going on this year. I did learn a few interesting things that I want to pass on to all of you. First one is that El Rio Barbecue. They said they were going away. Well, they're going to be open for one last season. So somehow they wrangled another year more, and maybe the new place had, maybe they didn't have time to get their stuff together. But at any rate, if you were having, major sad moments pondering life without Hollis's barbecue skills, the monster ribs, those awesome side dishes with an extra side of good music right along the river, well, you can snap out of it right now and make your plans for the final hurrah over at El Rio Barbecue. They're going to be reopening in October, so stay tuned for that announcement, which I will be making as soon as they do. Also, I have word that the first of those, I think there were eight ramadas, those fish shacks that are down in Boca de Tomates, where they make the pescado serrandeado, which is pretty crazy. That place that's right near the Crocodile Reserve, right on the beach. Well, the first of the 8 locations, those ramadas, has been purchased by Vidante for $1 million US, which means that this just might be your final season to enjoy the last vestige of Vallarta of old. These ramadas, I took you on one of our podcast episodes to the ramadas of Boca de Tomates. I think it was about 3 years ago. And you met Sabino. You met Sabino Ron there. Sabino is the guy in charge of Ramada Sabino Ron. And if you remember that episode, he told me way back then that it was just a matter of time before Vidante would own the land that he was born on. And he told us that they were knocking on the door back then. So sure enough, the first door has been opened up and bought up. So anyway, some of these family-owned businesses might hold out for some time. Who knows? But in the end, Vidante will get what they want, right? So if you haven't been over to these ramadas, if you've never been able to appreciate what they have there, make sure you go on a weekend, because that's really when the families are there and that's when things are happening. But you might need to get there this year before they disappear and turn into a big resort by Vidante. So anyway, I have a link to the Ramadas of Puerto Vallarta, Boca de Tomates. I have those in the show notes, and you can find them there. I noticed that there were beefed up police presence while I was in town this time down. I reported, of course, that there were a bunch of police, and the National Guard had landed up at the airport in Tijuana the day that I was heading out of Tijuana. But I did notice that the police had beefed up their presence while I was in town. If you remember back in February of 2021, I reported that Jalisco Governor Alfaro had made the decision to send in his state police force after the cartel hit of the ex-Jalisco Governor Aristoteles Sandoval. Remember that? The governor was having some drinks over at Distrito 5 when he got up to take a leak. He was shot in the back, and then he died shortly after. Well, the situation got pretty bad with the state federal police. So they got rid of all of them, and they replaced them with members of the Guardia Nacional, with the National Guard. And so when you look at the patrol cars, the trucks that you see, now you will see 4 persons per patrulla, per patrol car, 2 cops, and in the back seat, you're going to see 2 National Guards. So they've beefed up their patrols, basically. I did have a chance to visit and hang out with JR, who's making a real good recovery from his dislocated shoulder, which he is now out of his sling. He needs to do a little bit of rehab for his shoulder and his hand, but JR is in good spirits. He's eating and he's moving around quite well, and as a matter of fact, he's taking reservations for tours over at www.vallartainfo.com. If you want to take a tour, make sure that you visit JR's website. I had a chance to sit down and visit with Gary Beck while I was there. Gary is the author of the Puerto Vallarta Restaurant Guide. You all know him if you've listened to I had 2 episodes with him early on. We talked about the restaurant guide, and then the next time we talked about the cabarets and theater in Puerto Vallarta. Now, Gary's been in and out of the hospital for at least a year now. Right now he's doing physical rehab in a house that he's renting in Coloso. He's got some really incredible folks working with him and nursing him back to health. And one of these days, I'm going to get his Mexican caregivers to come on the show. I mean, we're all getting old, right? So what would you do if you had to get a full-time or even a part-time caregiver in paradise? Well, Gary can tell you. Anyway, I had about an hour conversation with Gary, but this time without a microphone, and because he's a wealth of information. So we swapped stories. And Gary is actually, he's looking forward to getting well enough to get back to doing what he loves to do best, which is eating great food and seeing excellent shows around town and then reporting back to all of us. He loves to write, but he needs to be able to get around. So get better soon, Gary. We're all pulling for you, and we know you'll get better real fast. Now, one of the things that would make it easy for a gringo or a gringa who needs the assistance of, for example, a Spanish-speaking nurse or a doctor would actually be the ability to speak Spanish, right? So one of the things that I'm really glad that I did in my youth was that I took Spanish language immersion when I was in college and went to Mexico City. And living in Southern California, I've always used it in my business dealings as well because it's just come in very handy. In the jewelry business, I used it daily. In real estate, not so much, but I do use it. But this trip, I was staying with my friends Ray and Cheap Debbie. They have that lovely place in Colonia Pitial, which is, it's a blue-collar neighborhood. It's very Mexican. It can be loud at night, but it was always, I mean, the last 2 times I've stayed there, I would stay there again. I'd live there. Everything is there. But anyway, I would leave in the morning, and I'd walk up about 2.5 blocks to the town square, and then across the street from the church, there was always, a taxi waiting there. There was a taxi stop. One of these sitios was set up there. And so I'd go up and I'd ask, how much to get to the romantic zone, for example. I knew the answer, but they always would say 120 pesos. And that's about $6 US. And I'd say, cool, and I'd get in the car. And I always sit in the front seat, and I always do my very best to chat up the taxistas. And I generally start off the conversation like, where are you from? How long you've been driving? That kind of thing. And on this particular day, the driver tells me that he's from San Luis Potosí, and that he's been driving since 1996. And I thought, wow, that's a long time. He says, yeah, but there was a time, about 4 years during that time, when I couldn't drive because I had a really bad accident. He told me that he went through the windshield, and he explained that he had to have 4 vertebrae fused at the base of his spine. And even though they were able to save my knee, he says, he's pointing to his left leg, which was working the clutch of his cab. He said they replaced the crushed bones with rods, and my left leg is about 4 inches shorter than my right. So I walk like this, and he made a rocking movement in his seat, mimicking an exaggerated limp. So I mentioned to him that I thought he was lucky that the doctors had saved his leg. At least he could continue driving. And he agreed with me, and he had a lot of praise for the doctors that did the spinal surgery. He said, I can sit for hours in the cab with no back pain. And as we drove along, actually, he pointed to a 4-story building. He said, see that 3rd floor window? I was in that room for 2 months. So then, he asked me what I do, and asked if I was on vacation, did I live in Vallarta, that kind of thing. And I told him what I do at home, that I sell houses in the LA area for a living, but when I'm in Vallarta, I have this podcast, I have a hobby, travel guide, sorts. So he asks me if it's just about Puerto Vallarta, and I say, no, I go 2 hours south, I'll go 2 hours north, maybe even 2 hours up into the mountains. So then he asked me, do you know Talpa? And I say, yeah, I know Talpa. You got a virgin up there, right? And there's like a pilgrimage, right? And he says, right. And he says, in 2008, I did the pilgrimage. I walked for 3 days to Talpa. So I looked at him, and I asked him, pointing at his leg, and kind of rocking back and forth in my seat, I said, did you walk all the way to Talpa like this? And he said, yeah, 3 days. So I say to him, let me guess. You had a news crew following you the whole way, right? And he looks at me with a sideways smile and he says, yeah. Then he asked me about my family. I told him I have a wife and 2 grown boys. So he asked me where my wife was, and I told him, she doesn't come with me to Mexico. She takes over the reins of the business when I'm out of town, but I can do my job remotely. I can handle just about any situation from my laptop or my smartphone, wherever I am in the world. So he looks at me and he says, well, You must have a bunch of Mexican girlfriends then. I said, no. I've been happily married for over 34 years. Come on. You got to build a lot of trust. You have to have respect. So he got this kind of sad look and, kind of like he had made a mistake, like he did something wrong. So he says, I have a song for you. And then he began to sing to me in a beautiful voice. And it was a song about a woman singing to her husband who was dead in the clouds in the sky, and how they still loved each other even though he wasn't with her. So that was pretty weird. I mean, getting sung to by a taxista. How about that? Yeah. So then he started to talk about his family and about how his wife was of indigenous ancestry and how she could make him very happy with how she cooks. And then he sang another song about the woman of Mazatlan. And then before you knew it, the ride was over. 20 minutes had just flown by, and, well, I reached in my pocket to pay the man. I almost felt guilty asking for change after this experience. I mean, the serenade and all, but I got my change back with a smile. The magic of speaking of language, speaking Spanish, right? Now, get this. The next morning, I hopped into another cab. Same place, same time, right? Right in front of this church in PTL. And I looked over at the driver's left leg as we were driving along, and I noticed he was driving a stick shift. And in his left hand, he had a cane. And he was using the cane to push in the clutch. And I'm thinking, what the? So I look at him, I pointed to his cane. I said, now what happened to your leg? So he pulls up his trouser pant leg there and exposed what looked like a peg leg to me. So then I told him the story about the previous day's encounter with the singing taxista. He said, yeah, he's my friend. So we had a great conversation as well. He didn't sing to me, though, but we did have a good laugh about, one-legged taxi drivers in PTL. I mean, go figure. And talking about PTL, I ventured out of the house one Sunday night to see what goes on in the town square in PTL at night. I mean, we know what happens in Puerto Vallarta. You go right there to the amphitheater in the middle of the Malecon, and they are usually having a little show for families, and it's a carnival kind of a thing. Well, in PTL, it's totally different at night. They got a stage. It's professionally lit. And, they play Mexican music and dance music, and they dance to it. And the families get out, and they dance with each other. So you got the lovers, you got the families, you got people courting one another, asking people to dance. It was very sweet. And so I watched for a bit. I like to observe and see what goes on. So I did that from a little afar. And I noticed that, there was beer being consumed, of course, and the men were sitting on the cement bleachers watching the dancing and talking with one another and, asking other ladies to dance, and ladies actually even asking some men to dance. But mostly men asking ladies to dance. It was very, very formal kind of a thing. So I said, okay. So I walked over to the OXXO, picked up a six-pack. And then I wandered over to the bleacher seats. I sat next to a couple of guys that were about my age. And we just had a blast talking about PTL. We talked about their families. I learned about the city. I learned about the town. I learned about some of the surrounding little colonias. And again, it was just the beauty of being able to speak Spanish and being able to interact with people. Anyway, the party in PTL lasts, they do it on Sundays, and I think they said it was from 6 until midnight. Everything was put away at midnight, but it was just a simple night out. There were a few taquerias that were open late at night that were around the area, so people could have a little something to eat before they headed back to their casa. And, so there you go. It was a very simple night out in PTL. Now, last week I talked about the note that I got from listener Chris. Chris talked about the fact that the FMM, the tourist card, was being phased out, and I was wondering if they were going to go ahead and skip that step in the process, because when I go through, I'm flying from Tijuana to Puerto Vallarta. So what I do is, for those of you who don't know, I take a bus to the border, then I cross over the border using a facility that's built on the San Diego side of the wall, that wall that separates the United States and Mexico, and I use a walkway or a little bridge, and the walkway goes over the wall and down into the Tijuana airport. By the way, they have finished the construction of the Tijuana airport. If you do use Cross Border Express, they don't send you down into the basement anymore to go through customs and to go through immigration. So you walk right into this beautiful airport, this beautiful facility. Anyway, as it turns out, I did actually have to fill out an FMM form over at the Cross Border Express facility. So I'm pretty sure that, this just does not include that facility just yet. I will be back for Dia de los Muertos in a couple of months, and we're going to go again over Cross Border Express, and I'm going to take Viva Area bus at that time, so I'm going to find out whether or not that changes, and we'll see whether or not they still want us to fill out the FMM when I get back there in a couple of weeks. Anyway, this time actually I'm going to be coming down with my wife. Yay! I'll be with her and her best friend. She refers to her best friend as her horse wife because they share custody of a horse, and they are best friends. And her horse wife's husband is going to be coming along too. So anyway, I've been warned by her that my microphones are not coming down with me, that I can't bring them, and that this is going to be a real vacation with me as their tour guide. So I am looking forward to that for sure, although this is going to be really hard. I don't know if I can do that, right? I might need to beg her to let me stay just a couple of days extra so I can whip out my microphone once they, return to Cali. That does not sound right. Okay, maybe I'll change the wording. It'll be take out my microphone when they go back home. Anyway, it will be our very first Dia de los Muertos that we'll be spending in Puerto Vallarta, so we are both very excited about that. I have a bunch of things that I want to tell you about my latest trip. The interviews were off the hook. The people were in the mood to talk. I don't know what happened. I mean, an hour-long interview became the norm. I don't know what was in the air. Maybe it was in the water. But anyway, in the upcoming weeks, the episodes are going to be good, and you will definitely enjoy them. This trip down, weed was in short supply to my local friends, the people that usually hook me up. So it took me a couple of days to get my usual thing going. However, the local dealers, our friends over there on the Malecon, the wanna buy a pipe, I got weed, I got cocaine, those guys, they were well supplied. But, you pay for it when you buy it on the Malecon. It's 1,500 pesos for an ounce of Mexican cartel dirt weed, about $75 US. Oppose that to 500 pesos from your friend who buys it from their local cartel supplier in their hood for around, 500 pesos or 25 US. So, yeah, supply line issues, I guess. For weed? Well, other supply line issues included Pacifico in bottles, also scarce all around town, with the exception of, I found over at Gringo Loco, which has a corner on the Pacifico market. I don't know how they got it, but they do, and no joke. And cold. Really cold, too. So, anyway, I just wanted to touch on some of those things. I also wanted to talk about some national and international news, but it's been too long. We need to get to our interview. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll get to some of that next week. So when it comes to guests, on this podcast, the favorites of my listeners usually are expats, who one way or another make their way to Puerto Vallarta. They find a way to make a life for themselves, to retire, to make life work in Mexico. So some come to retire and do nothing. Others are looking to fulfill a dream, a need. Maybe they come to volunteer. Maybe they're there to find themselves. Maybe to escape from someone or something. We do see that from time to time. Some even come to die. I've met some of those people, and I can tell you stories about some of them too. In fact, maybe I will one of these days. But today, in our interconnected world and the economies, you're going to find many people trying to make a living remotely. And these are the digital nomads, if we've grown to know them here on the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. These nomads tend to be younger, unattached, willing to make sacrifices in terms of, creature comforts. And they'll do that in exchange for the freedom of a nomadic life. Now, these two individuals these people really fit the mold of my ideal interview. For one thing, they have a podcast in Paradise. It's called Cowork Life with AJ and ZiZi in Puerto Vallarta. They also do a number of things to keep their pesos flowing, which we're going to get to. Well, like right now. So let's get to it. Let's go to one of my favorite places, actually, to conduct an interview in Puerto Vallarta. I call it it's definitely one of my offices in Vallarta. It's a restaurant. It overlooks the corner of Insurgentes and Lázaro Cárdenas. It's right across the street and upstairs from the big Farmacia Guadalajara and those taco stands that are lining the street on Lázaro Cárdenas. So let's go right now to Restaurant San Lucas for a visit with some fellow podcasters. Podcasters with a different twist on the place that we all love. Let's meet AJ Freeman and ZiZi Fiorden. Co-work life with AJ and ZiZi in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. All right. ZiZi, AJ, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Que anda Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah. Let's start with you, ZiZi. Where are you from, and what was your path that led you here to Puerto Vallarta?
Okay. So I spent most of my life in Philadelphia, and I happened to meet AJ there, and he had spent the last 5 years or so in Puerto Vallarta, and he told me how amazing it was, and the people, and the community, and the culture, and just the food, like everything.
Yeah, you told
everything.
The truth, right?
He really sparked a fire, and I was like, okay, I've researched everything, so I was like, I gotta know more. So I looked on YouTube, I'm watching the videos, I'm looking at everything, and I was like, I'm a Pisces. I don't know if anyone cares about astrology, but I always love the ocean and the sea, and my dream was, as a child, to learn Spanish and move to a Spanish-speaking country, and learn about the culture, the community, learn more Spanish, learn more, and just evolve. So
you were ready to do it.
I was ready. I was super ready. I wake up every day and I can't believe I'm here. It's like I made it out of the States, and that to me is an amazing feat.
Wow. All right. Well, there's a lot of people that listen to this show who feel the same way, and actually some of them are thinking about moving in the same way. So that's really cool. AJ, where are you from, and what was your path?
Well, I guess I have roots in Philly, but my dad had a job where we moved around a lot. So I lived pretty much all over the country. And I guess the advantage of that is that you don't really develop any strong ties to any particular region or whatever. So I was very open, I guess, by the time I had decided to quit my 9-to-5 and become a full-time freelance writer, that I was poised to take full advantage of my location independence. I decided to sample life outside the country. By 2016, I really figured the U.S. wasn't going in the greatest direction, so I decided to find somewhere else to live.
You actually did what a lot of people said they were going to do and never did.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, he did.
I'm a man of action. I'm a man of my word. No doubt about it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it came down between three countries, basically. I was considered Thailand, but it turns out I've never heard a word of Thai. And that's also on the other side of the planet, so can't come home for my mom's birthday or anything.
Right, yeah, that's something to think about.
Also considered Caribbean countries, the Dominican Republic specifically. But then I worked online. I freelance. So it turns out there's a lot of hurricanes there, and you need consistent access to the internet to work online. Turns out, so strike two.
That, yeah.
Turns out the answer was right under my nose the entire time. Mexico had a culture that seemed compatible, a language I had at least been familiar with from time in Los Angeles and Chicago. They're third Spanish over there.
Mm-hmm.
See signs in Spanish sometimes. So it was a transition which I felt comfortable making, and I felt like they would present me a better deal in my everyday life, not monetarily, of course, but spiritually, I guess.
Yeah.
I wake up here every day feeling more fulfilled, feeling more empowered to be myself than other places I've lived, and I don't take that for granted. The people welcomed me here warmly, and I generally found a great experience when I came.
Excellent. So how'd you pick Puerto Vallarta, though?
Puerto Vallarta specifically was one flight from the West Coast, so that's good. Had the beach, which was very important. Nice weather. And if I'm going to tell the entire truth, I actually discovered Puerto Vallarta specifically on an episode of House Hunters International. So quick shout out to Tamika, who was on the episode recently.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm sure you know her. She used to be over at the pizzeria, but she's an LA-based actress.
Okay. No, I don't know her. Maybe I should know her.
Maybe you should know her. Maybe she'll appear on a future episode of this broadcast.
And why not? Yeah.
But yeah, House Hunters International.
So that worked on you.
It absolutely worked on me because at the time I was living in the worst area of the city and was paying $1,000 a month in rent. Mm. And House Hunters International said the hunter had a budget of $700 a month for a apartment 3 blocks from the beach, and I'm like, that ain't right. I don't have to be anywhere particular on Monday. I have $700, if only $700. So here I go.
Excellent.
And I landed here and haven't looked back since.
Wow. Was it hard for you to find a place?
Oh, when I first came here?
Yeah.
I guess that's another story. When I first landed here, I actually stayed in an Airbnb. And, having arrived in the city sight unseen, I wasn't really familiar with the neighborhoods or anything.
Yeah.
So the Airbnb.
Oh, where was it?
Oh, man.
Where was it?
I'm just going to say the name. Locals will recognize it. It's Guadalupe Victoria. And for those who don't know exactly where that is, it's on the other side of the airport. You know what's on this side of the airport? The entire city of Puerto Vallarta. So, yeah, I ended up over there with somebody I will consider a friend for the rest of my life, Cesar, who basically invited me into his home and showed me the ropes. I ate dinner with his family. They made fun of me in Spanish, which is, of course, the highest honor that one can attain as an invited guest in this country. And, the experience I had there sold me on Vallarta as a place to live long term and a place to, let my days unfold.
Yeah, wonderful. Gosh. Now, when you landed... you both, obviously, you're young people. You're probably, I don't know, I'm looking at you both. You could be independently wealthy, but I don't know.
Thank you for the compliment.
Do you see the threadbares?
Look, I've been told not to look at people's clothes, but to look into their eyes and into their world. So how do you make a living around here?
So... we always joke that we're always working, and it's true.
That's right. Sell our labor, baby.
Every day it's like, okay, so I find a new hobby, and I'm like, how can I monetize it? And that's just how to survive. So we make bracelets. We do custom bracelets.
No doubt.
We have a podcast. I actually teach voice lessons from home. I teach online and in person. Being somebody who has to use a cane to walk everywhere, the online revolution of being able to teach online this last couple of years was really big for me. That opened up a lot of doors that I probably wouldn't be able to be here otherwise because it wasn't as much as accepted as it is now.
Right.
But yeah, what else do we do to
what do you do, AJ? What do you
monetize
I
our time?
myself am a writer. I am a mercenary. I am a literary gunslinger. I go from job to job, sustaining myself, and I see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I understand that you. I don't understand. I've read your articles in the Mirror. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right, so I guess
It's the PV mirror, by the way.
The
It's
PV
Puerto
mirror,
Vallarta
yes.
mirror. Not some place out of London, England. We're talking about the PV mirror here.
yeah, I've been writing for the Mirror for about, oh man, has it been 4 or 5 months already?
I think so.
And to start out, I resurrected an old column from a previous publication in the area. It's called Vibes and Vices. A few of you out there may have read it, and thank you to you if you have. But basically, it was my opinion of the world disguised as a restaurant review. Like, sure, I'm going to eat pizza and, talk to the guy, but really it's a review of the history of pizza and the first pizza ever delivered and the fate of the labor market and everything else. Like, it's basically an excuse to voice my opinion on the public. And it's been working for me successfully for, 5 years now? I'm really happy with that choice.
That's because it makes it interesting, right?
Oh, yeah, no
It's
doubt.
not just
What's to
straight
read about,
pasta,
honestly?
for goodness sake. And, whoa, what kind of sauce are you using on that? Come on.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, great. But isn't it more interesting to find out that the first delivery food ever in modern history was a margarita pizza?
Oh, wait a minute. Really?
You didn't know?
Absolutely.
No.
Oh, yes.
No,
Queen
no.
Margarita
Well, a person
ordered.
calling herself Queen
Yes, a
Margarita.
person who decided her name was Queen
I
Margarita.
guess Spain decided she was their queen. But yeah, she was
Yeah,
visiting
I don't
Italy, for diplomatic purposes, and the head chef in the city decided to represent the traditional cutlet of the country using basil, tomato, and garlic.
Was that Chef Raphael?
It was Chef Raphael.
Yes.
He's really ironic.
Yes.
Who knew?
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
We had to look into it.
Well,
I
it
It
mean,
was one of our deep dives on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Right,
you
yes.
try to learn as much as possible. You never know where you're going to get to deploy your knowledge.
Exactly right. Well, it makes it makes it interesting and kind of
That's
makes
right.
people listen, right? So,
Nice, baby. That's right.
all right, and let's talk about your podcast. You've got a podcast together.
All right.
Yes.
Our podcast
Yes, we
is
do.
called,
Our
Cowork Life
podcast.
with AJ
No,
and
we gotta
oh,
say
no.
it together.
Do we have to say it
Yes,
together?
we
Say it
do.
together.
Yes, we
One,
do.
two,
Ready?
three.
Here we go.
Uno, dos, tres.
Cowork Life with AJ and ZiZi.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yes.
Yes.
I listened to your podcast. Yeah,
Yeah.
so talk to the people. Tell them what's on your podcast.
Well, basically,
Okay.
it's
What to
about the
think about.
atmosphere at the modern shared office, right?
Now, you guys, you're over at the Cowork, Vallarta Cowork,
Over at
right?
Cowork, yes.
All right.
Yep.
Now, everybody, if you don't know where Vallarta Cowork is, it's over right next to the Santander Bank and next to that great Italian restaurant called
L'Angolo di Napoli.
Gracias. Yeah, he had to
right.
change it because he got in some big
Oh,
trouble.
They
yeah, what
did.
happened with that? I
Well,
like the old name way
it was
better.
Saint
I'm not sure if we can
Belonga
say it
some-
on air. I'm going to pretend we can't.
It did. Well, it belonged
Yeah.
to some stuck-up restaurant that decided to sue him if they didn't change it. So that's what they did.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, they did. But they
Now
actually...
it's a tongue twister, so it's more fun for a vocal coach to say.
Oh, there you go. So there you have it. So, all right. So you're there at the Cowork. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I
Right.
interrupted
So
you.
basically, no matter what walk of life people came from, they all ended up in that space. We have graphic designers, we have life coaches, we have remote consultants, we have very skilled, good-looking writers such as myself.
Man.
No, but seriously, we have people from all over the world, and they shared the story that they found the city of Puerto Vallarta more interesting than any other for their
Yeah.
purposes. Why? What brought them here? Why? What's their vision of the world? You know, we share one thing. How many things do we share? And that's sort of the root of it. But also we explore historical trends and like the future of the workplace, and basically take a look at the world from our perspective.
Yeah. I'd say a recurring theme is the status quo doesn't have to be this way. And we always talk about community and how mutual aid is the way of the future.
Community.
And so
Very important.
that's kind of encompasses the whole podcast is we talk about, we want to know who you are, why you're here, what you're doing, what's in your brain, what do you care about? How are you contributing to this world? What is a way that we can be better people? And it's just about, like we said, community is what it all comes down to. Like right here.
Because these are communities, right?
Exactly
A co-working
right.
space, even a bar tribe is a community.
Yeah.
You know, you mess up too many times, you're going to be rejected from the tribe.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
So community is the ultimate measuring stick of an involved society, in my opinion, right? If
Okay.
you have a community that you can fall back on, that you can rely on in times of, when times are not ideal, then everybody is a bit stronger, a bit more empowered because of it.
And I want to shout out Puerto Vallarta because the last few months have not gone to plan in any way. We're going to do a deep dive on that, I think, in a couple of episodes.
Yep, that's going to be the
But
season finale, I think.
Season finale. But yeah, everything. And I think what I've really learned this past year is you can't. you have to keep flowing. Like, something bad happens and it sucks, but if you stay with it, then you're not going to go anywhere. Like, you have to keep it moving, keep it going, and you just got to be more fluent with it. And I think the bus ride from Tijuana to the peak really taught me to let go of my autonomy.
24 hours.
I have I could die right now, and there's nothing that I can do about it. So I just have to chill.
ZiZi?
Yeah.
You realize it's $50 to fly, okay? You don't have to take the bus.
We had a bunch of stuff.
We had so much stuff.
Oh, you were bringing stuff. Okay.
No, we had a battery pack.
We had
a piano.
Never mind. That'll cost you a ton of money.
Guitar,
computer,
right.
tablet.
Several costumes.
All right,
no.
I want to hear about this trip. So you left from Los Angeles to come down here,
well,
right?
that was the
end of the leg.
Oh, okay. All right.
Philadelphia to the peak, to Puerto Vallarta.
8-day Amtrak ride across the nation, but we'll save that for the season finale.
Yes.
We'll talk about the 24-hour bus ride from Tijuana to the peak. And I think I'll start out by mentioning the maneuver. I guess the world-famous maneuver now, known as the Tijuana
Slingshot. Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh, yes.
This double-decker bus pulled into oncoming traffic to overtake people in the same lane, and I found out why.
Oncoming traffic going uphill on the incline where you can't see over the top of it.
No.
So you're just flying, hoping you're not going to crash at the top.
Right. So, and I found out why.
Yeah,
it is because they are paid by the number of people they pick up. So if you get to the bus stop first, you're getting all the passengers, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's how you get an 80-ton vehicle overtaking traffic in the opposite lane.
Dang.
It was terrifying.
Man, it was horrifying.
All right. So
I'm here.
Taking all that equipment on a bus.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself is a little bit
lot
sketchy,
of trust,
wouldn't you say?
It was logistically challenging.
We were told in LA that we were the coolest musicians he had ever seen, and I will take that with me forever because he said that in Los Angeles. but it was a whole lot.
We needed a lot of help.
You are the sense of calm and like reason, whereas I am more anxious, like what could possibly happen, and my mind is so imaginative, and yours is too, but in a better way. Because mine just takes it a different way. Yeah, I mean, I got to edit your book, which if you all haven't checked out 64 to Infinity, you need to. It is the encapsulation of human history through color, and he talks about why everything matters and why they're trying to brainwash you with color and why it's important to know why people use colors a certain way and the history of them. And
it's true.
AJ,
yeah.
I've seen your pretty book.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
You guys don't realize this, but, I'm kind of like, I do a little bit of research on people before I have them on the podcast. So
as a good podcast host should.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I spy on you is what I do, dude.
Oh, man.
Hey, it's public information.
That's right. So we'll talk about your book in a little bit.
Yeah, let's go back.
We'll come on and we'll circle back on that. Well, why not? No, let's just talk about your book.
Sure.
It's a great book.
It's pretty.
It's amazing.
So what is the significance of the number 64?
All right, so 64 to Infinity, the book title comes from, I guess, the original second grade status symbol. Everybody was jealous of the kid with the 64 pack of crayons. I'm sure you remember that, right?
Yes,
oh, man, had the built-in sharpener. So what I did, it basically started as a throwaway social media post. I wrote a little something about my favorite color at the time, which was, at least as represented by Big Crayon. It was Midnight Blue, which used to be called Prussian Blue, of course, until that whole thing with the Zyklon B and the gas chambers. It's called Prussian Blue.
Seems like they had to change
you
it.
can't have a crayon named that, so they named it Midnight Blue. And what it taught me, even early in my childhood days, is that things change, the acceptability of things changes based on the people in society at the time, what people think, right? So the concept of the book stems from basically humans have a shared story that has led us to today. For instance, red is the most common color of national flags. Why? You know why.
Why? Tell me. I don't know.
No, guess.
Give us a swing.
Well, the most common colors, I don't know, red, white, and blue?
The most common color shared by national flags around the world is red, and it always represents the spilled blood of proud patriots.
Sangre. There we go.
And all the other true believers. Yeah, it always represents the same thing. People have come up with a shared sense of that around the world, across cultures, and that spoke to me, right? That these variations of light can both speak so much about the human experience and define so much of what we share. So that's where the book comes from. Obviously the box has 64 colors, so each of them I came up with a story, a narrative, and I think the result is really interesting. If you have some time, check it out. Actually, it's here on my shirt.
Yeah, you were wearing a shirt.
Yeah. Okay. Now, where can people buy your book?
They can buy it at 64toinfinity.com, or they can contact me directly at cosmiccaptain@gmail.com, and I will direct you to the rest.
Excellent. All right. So I'll have a link to that, and I'll also have don't write it down. You know where to find it, over at www.PuertoVallartaTravelShow.com. It'll be in the episode with ZiZi and AJ.
Yeah.
So make sure that you check that out. And of course, I'll have a link to their podcast. You check that out too. Download and listen. You know, these are people who live here. I mean, I'm a little bit of a, I don't know. I mean, I don't live here, so I don't have that kind of cred like
Highway
you guys
child.
have.
A digital nomad.
Exactly.
As much as we love that word.
Well, we can
no,
use
it's a spicy word.
It is spicy. It's spicy.
Detested.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no, we all hate it.
I
It's
know
not
because
cute.
it kind of implies that you sleep around. So,
Oh,
well, it does.
Depends on who you ask.
I guess.
I Come on,
guess.
nomads sleep around. What are you talking about?
That's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah,
wherever
they do.
you find your head that night, hopefully is inside.
Don't
you
go
know?
there.
Oh, man.
We're not talking about that kind of sleeping around. Come on.
Oh,
Of course not.
oh
This
man.
is a family program.
It
This
is.
for
It's
sure.
rated G, for goodness sake.
Never
For
heard that before
goodness
somehow.
sake.
Huh? What was that? What came out of you there?
Oh.
That sounded lovely.
For goodness sake.
Do you sing on your podcast?
I host a musical
You
minute.
You should.
And I don't sing too much because I'm not really a performer. Like I like helping people. I don't know. I have more. It's interesting being a vocal coach and having anxiety. It's like, why aren't you performing? When's your next performance? And I'm like, I like being behind the scenes more, you know. But
So you're a vocal coach and you also teach piano, right? So
yeah.
is that
yeah.
yes?
Yeah. No. Right now I have mostly vocal students.
Are they Spanish
And
speakers? Are they English speakers? Are they what?
Right
are they?
now it's mostly English
did have
speakers,
Spanish
but I did
speakers.
have. She spoke Portuguese. Was her
All right,
other.
well, that's different.
So it
That's-
is
is
very
different.
different.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
different
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
No, it's great. My students introduced me to different types of music that I wouldn't know. Like, do you know the song about the cherry tomato hanging on by Pink Martini?
Everybody knows that song.
See, not everybody does though.
I'm kidding. I'm
Oh,
full
you
of
don't
it.
know that song?
Hell no, I don't know.
Oh,
that
I'm so
song.
literal. I was like, you know
I
that
met,
song?
I met somebody recently who didn't know Lean on Me.
Oh,
It's like,
now
what?
that
You know
hurts.
Lean on
That
Me.
hurts. That
You're
hurts.
full
They
of
might-
it.
you-
because if they're three.
I
So
know Lean on Me. I'm only 30-something.
well, I know,
Yeah.
but they are three. Okay.
Okay.
So did you want to sing me
That's true.
about the tomato hanging on?
Oh, what is it? Hang on to the vine. Hold on. I honestly, the other reason why I don't sing is this is a fun fact. I had sepsis as a child, and my memory was affected from that, and so I can't really remember like a lot of. Lyrics are hard for me, and so that's another reason why I don't perform. But you may see me out there on the karaoke stage.
I'm saying they let you look at the lyrics.
Because karaoke lets you look at the lyrics.
Yeah,
And,
right.
Crush karaoke,
I
man.
could
I bet
kill
she
it.
does.
Oh man,
Well, I believe it. I believe it.
I could do it.
I believe
I could
it.
do it. So it's a good
found
way to meet
out-
people.
Yeah, I found out that Mexicans can't sing in the shower because I was at a karaoke place called La Regalera.
La Regadera, right on the Morelos.
Yeah. And I was staying at an Airbnb right across the street from it.
Oh,
Mexicans
you heard everything.
cannot sing in the shower. Now, I got audio for it, too, so I got to
It was a
prove
sampling,
yeah.
though. It
Yeah.
was a sampling. One of my phrases is, if you can talk, you can sing. Like, one of my things is, we all went down a slide as a kid, right? What sound did you make when you went down a slide?
Well, it started with a W and ended with an E,
Yeah.
right?
And so you were singing. You just didn't really know.
Huh?
And really singing is just elongating. It's holding a longer phrase. It's singing, speaking words longer and just having the breath support and all that. So
Well,
Fluidity,
a lot of-
openness.
yeah.
a lot of muscle coordination involved.
Well, let me tell you what. You got a voice like an angel, ZiZi.
Oh, look
I appreciate
at that.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and
I'm
you
going to
should
hold
use-
that for a long time.
You should
'cause-
use it. You should use it on your show.
Okay.
Let's see now. We've talked about the mirror. We've talked about your book. We've talked about what you do here. Let's talk about what you guys do to other than, when you're not working? What do you do to keep yourselves busy, out of bars, out of trouble? How do you do that?
I am a reasonably competent visual artist, so I like to make things. I like to paint T-shirts and tie-dye, that kind of thing.
You have a screen printing kit, too.
I do have a screen printing kit. It turns out...
You have a what? You have a
screen printing kit. You can...
You do?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's
AJ,
really cool. You can
brother,
he is
I
the
have to
most
send it to
talented. You don't know.
Because I make T-shirts, too.
Oh.
But I have to send it
I
out.
see you
I have to
wearing
send
your-
it out.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, you got
no
a screen
doubt.
printing.
All
Yeah.
right.
You see, I have been on the fringes of economic stability for quite some time, but I still like to look cool. So, I make stuff and stitch stuff to other stuff, put a patch on it. Absolutely. So, I guess it all comes from those Saturday morning shopping trips with my mom.
Yeah.
She used to take me to the flea market. And you reach into a big pile of fabric and pull out something cool. Sometimes you get a real NFL jersey or something like that.
Yeah.
And it'd be 50 cents. It'd be great. So, it was always an opportunity to be creative. And getting positive feedback from that from an early age, I guess, gave you the freedom to flourish.
Yeah.
Getting that positive support, getting that feedback that tells you to go in a certain direction. It made me who I am today.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So, with that, I mean, do you make stuff for other people, or are you just making stuff for yourself?
I will absolutely honor a custom order, but I mostly make stuff for myself.
You
because
painted
what's a
shoes
better
for
display?
people?
Oh, I tie-dyed shoes and everything. No, I love
see,
making
AJ,
stuff more colorful.
you're hippie, aren't you? Aren't you?
Oh,
take
man.
that, yeah.
Can I tell you a fun story?
Yeah.
We were at the bus stop the other day because we take the bus everywhere because you should walk your neighborhood. If you're staying at your resort right now listening to this and you haven't left your resort, please leave and go somewhere else. Go to your local taco stand. Go to the people where there's a line.
They shouldn't even punch your passport unless you come to at least one taco stand.
Like you
It was airport
carne
resort
asada
airport.
or
That's weird.
carnitas
Come on,
or anything. We la birria, like the consomme. You gotta get it.
Oh,
But
that's the best part.
that is, man.
The chaser. It's the chaser.
I love broth.
Yeah.
See, I never understood why hot drinks never took off like coffee. Like, why wouldn't you drink a cup of broth or tomato soup? Why wasn't that as popular as, a smoothie, for example? I love tomato soup and birria broth. And no. It's barbacoa is
Barbacoa
is
All right.
delicious.
AJ,
Yes.
do you know the deal about the barbacoa? You know how they make it
Tell
and
me
how they
the deal.
do it? Oh no, well they just they bury it. They bury it in rocks and they do the whole 9 yards. They use a certain kind of leaf, like a maguey, and they smoke it overnight and they dig it up and forget it. I mean, on the real barbacoa, the real thing.
Right.
Yeah. Some of them, they just fake it, right? They just put the sauce on. But
But
that's
you
the
can
big
always
deal.
tell.
Is that a similar process to how tamales are made?
No, tamales are made in a steamer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're made in a steamer. And I make a mean tamale, by the way.
Oh, get off.
I am not afraid to say it.
You know what? I'm going to admit something
I
that
will
may
have
get me
to-
in some trouble. I have had maybe 20% of the tamales I've enjoyed. Too much masa, man. Like, give me some filling.
The key is to make the masa thin.
I like
the
masa. The flavor's good,
No,
but like,
the masa
man.
needs to be soft and thin, not this doughy
giant
stuff.
sponge, man. It's
Bad.
like
No, when I
crust.
say thin, it is. I put it paper thin on the on the corn husk, and then pop that the filling right on top. It roll it up, and it works. It works.
No, the platform has potential, but just most often
I
you get
get
this
it.
pool
Yeah, they're
noodle of
awful.
masa
They're
with
awful,
stuff
yeah.
with.
Yeah, people look at it and go, "No, I don't do tamales." You go, eat my tamales. Shut up.
Oh,
Eat my
yeah, no,
tamales.
I'm not closing
I'm not
myself
going to bring
off
it.
at all.
I don't cook here. Okay, I don't cook in Puerto Vallarta.
Why not?
I cook at home. Because look, there's 800 restaurants all over the town.
That is a fair
who
point.
Needs
That
to
is a
do
fair
that.
point.
I mean, all you're asking for is ants in your house. So I don't do that. No.
Ants in your house. Did you know a fun trick with ants is if you have white chalk or any kind of chalk, white just blends in. The chalk will actually, they can't cross it without, they won't make it across the finish line is what I'm saying.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Somewhere on my website, I do have a boric acid recipe for the ants.
Oh, specifically? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically for the ants.
Hey, no one need that.
Well, everybody needs that. You just roll it up in a ball and put it in a couple of corners, and you're all
Okay.
set. All right, let's because we've already started. Let's hop into the town. Let's talk a little bit about
Let's do it.
where we like to eat, okay? And who are the greatest? Who are the best people to support? When you want to go and eat, right? Because you can walk into a place and it's okay, but you really want to help the family that's there sometimes, right?
No, I totally do.
And so tell me about that. What favorite breakfast places? Let's start there. ZiZi, what do you got?
Favorite
Do you
breakfast
eat breakfast?
place? So
'Cause
breakfast
most
is
people don't, you
breakfast
know?
is a commodity that is not always available.
That's a nice way to put that.
So sometimes we're limited to like instant noodles for a few hours, multiple hours. But I would say favorite breakfast place.
even when you're not eating top ramen. When you actually kind of go out,
when we're going out.
Didn't you love the tortas ahogadas?
Tortas ahogadas was amazing. I have to say the outside of the building is bright. It's bright pink. It's like a deep magenta. You're the color guy, I would say, right?
what
Wild
is it?
strawberry, I guess.
It's
I
a
would
wild.
call it.
Oh, it's a wild strawberry. If you don't know the
this
color,
place?
you
Where's
have
this
to.
place?
It is in Versailles, maybe 2 blocks inland of the main road. I'm not sure. My street name knowledge is faded since I took a year and a half
Versailles.
off.
It's
but
not. It's not
in Versailles.
okay.
For
It's
sure.
not in Centro.
Not in Centro, no.
But it's basically. I mean, coming from Philly, it was the closest thing I found here to like a hoagie.
Yeah.
And it was basically like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it was like a hoagie and broth, and it was delicious, and I talk about it a lot. I like it because we eat a good amount. I mean, we did eat a good amount of tacos, and at one point it was like birria. Like every morning was like, which birria do you want? Which, if that's my biggest complaint, then I am doing just fine. So.
Oh no, birria!
Oh no, I have to
again.
eat this delicious
Oh, good
birria
God.
for
Whatever.
for whatever.
You know what makes a pretty good breakfast? No, it actually can make a great breakfast for any time whether you're on the go or whatever. Don Baguette over here.
Don
They
Baguette. I
just
just saw
opened.
that
Oh,
today.
man,
when I
Don
left-
Baguette.
They make they obviously make baguette stuff with like bacon, egg, and cheese,
Yeah.
and like it's delicious.
No, they have rajas. They have rajas con queso. They had the
They have picadillo. They have
al
a few
pastor.
like
See?
baguettes. And
So they make stuff to put on their baguettes.
no, their
It's
stuff.
inside. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
it's
it's like
stuffed?
it's like
Stuffed.
the
It's like a
fanciest hot
cannoli?
pocket.
It's like a cannoli kind
No,
of thing.
it's maybe
It's
the
a-
size. It's maybe what? Okay.
A gourmet
It's maybe
hot
as long as the
pocket.
microphone I need to keep to my lips. It's
No.
maybe like eight. Oh wait, I
Okay, if you're
shouldn't work
looking
in
at-
freedom.
It's like the width of your phone, but like a phone and a half.
Okay. Yeah.
Phone and a half.
Yeah,
phone and a
that's
half.
how I'll go with
Okay.
it.
All right.
Millennial
It's filled.
measurements. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was like looking
And-
around, like, what
and-
can somebody listening know about this?
Right.
It's nice and buttery on the outside. They're warm. They cook them fresh every morning. You can go in. You can see all the ingredients fresh in the fridge. I worked in the restaurant industry for a very long time. So when you see ingredients fresh in the fridge, they're there, and they're not afraid to display them, which means that they're making it in good, wholesome faith. And so I was super psyched about that.
You're not hiding the food.
They're not hiding it. They're proud of what they're making, and we try to support people who are proud of what they do for the right
No
reasons.
doubt, I love it.
And that is what we are all about. So like we stop in places, just maybe we don't have the pesos that day, but we'll stop back. But we want to meet you and talk to you and see what you have going on, and make a connection that maybe later that next day they're like, oh, you met so and so from this place? I know them. And then a whole community is built. And that's one of the coolest parts about being here is I came here, I didn't know anybody. I knew AJ, and AJ knows he's the mayor.
And
so,
AJ knows everybody. That's
so,
right. He does.
so I guess
Because he kind of stands out. I don't know.
he's a walking
I
rainbow.
was gonna have it
Yes.
anyway, so I lean into it.
Of course you do.
No,
course you should.
and people, the way they react to you and the way, like, you've built a community over the time here that has been unstoppable for us. I would not be sitting at this table across from you right now if he had not been the person he is. Like, we're pretty much, life has been really hard. So I'm very thankful that to be with someone who is as good as I can't even speak. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're
it's like,
great.
but
You're such a great person. I don't
She's
know.
melting. Did you say she's melting?
I can't.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk to AJ. I mean, come on. Everybody
Look at
wants
him.
to talk to AJ.
Everybody, the amount of times people ask for
Well,
a
I always have
picture,
something to say.
I'm like, modelo, sí. We gotta start charging for those photos. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Maybe
All right.
one day.
So, like a midday meal, like I said.
Figueroa's.
Oh man, I took mine.
Figueroa's. Dude,
I'm sorry.
All right, dudes.
It's fine. Figueroa's
Waste.
a burrito is 80 pesos, 80 pesos. It is filling.
Stuffed.
It takes me.
If you're from Cali and you're missing that, burrito,
It's like
If
the
you're friends
Cali
with me on
burrito, right?
Facebook,
it's the one.
my
That's what you're
profile
looking
photo
for.
is holding a Figueroa's burrito as a baby, and that it looks like
She's
a
like,
baby.
Oh my God.
It looks like a baby. This is a big.
Did your mom, send you a message?
Oh no, she's
It's
fine.
just-
All right.
I mean, everybody back in the States loved it.
No,
Sent it to
people
her
were
sister
like,
and
"What
everything.
is this? What are you?" No, man, and it's not. Back in the States, it's like, "Oh, you want guacamole? That's $3. You want sour cream? You want cheese? Do you want lettuce on there? You want a tomato? That is going to
Yeah,
be
what's wrong
14
with
extra
you?
dollars.
Yeah.
What are you doing? No, it is 80 pesos. They give you the chipotle sauce, which is perfect. It's amazing.
Do they make them wet, or do they make them dry, mojado, or?
They
So
will
sometimes
make them wet. They can make
sometimes
them
they're
wet,
more
too.
grilled, which I really like. Sometimes you get it and it's got little like blackening on the side, and it's been grilled
'cause you
real
know that
nice.
cheese is
and
really good and
Yeah.
melted,
They
right?
make it enchilada style, which means decorated with chilies, in case anyone didn't know. But yeah,
Okay.
they'll pour the chili sauce on top, and
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
do it for you. They also make
Bañado,
chimichangas.
bathed.
Only place I've seen to make chimichangas around here.
yeah.
So they do make chimichangas.
They make
there.
It's
chimichangas.
not a big
They-
storefront. It's a
It's a
storefront,
freaking
and it's
closet.
got a
Don't-
table
it's
out
not-
It's a hole in
front.
the wall.
Yeah.
It's a hole in the wall,
I love
and
it.
the beach is right there. Why are you complaining? Go eat it at the beach. It's fine.
So simple,
Ooh,
right?
Don Pancho in Versailles is really good.
Oh.
All right.
They make really good birria tacos. They have a queso pizza, which
Oh
it's a
man,
massive.
So filling.
oh man, it's incredible.
beyond filling.
It's 2 layers of large tortillas
Mm-hmm.
with birria stuffing, and you get sides of consomme coated with cheese. It's, I guess, if you've ever had the Taco Bell Mexican pizza, it's what the Taco Bell Mexican pizza wants to be when it grows up.
Yeah.
So
And
Mm-hmm.
it never did, by the way.
Their agua de Jamaica is really good too. There's an
Jamaica's
Oxxo around the corner if
fascinating.
you gotta grab a cerveza or whatever to go with your
Oh,
meal.
grab a cerveza.
I mean,
So,
always.
Yeah. So this is in Versailles, eh?
That's
This
in Versailles.
is- yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. What about dinner? You got any? I mean,
Dinner.
We
you're-
already
you
talked
guys-
about Langolo de Napoli.
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
know
would
that
say.
for sure.
you know what? If I'm gonna have dinner downtown, I'm not really like a really sit down dinner guy. Like I used to do it for my previous publication, which passed away in late 2019.
Yeah, it happened.
Yep,
After
yep,
a lot
yep.
of things.
Oh yeah.
But- oh man, I tried to step around it, but
Ouch.
I stepped in it. No, but if I'm gonna be downtown and I'm gonna eat dinner, I like to do it later in the week. They have the park here in the market here in the Central Park here. What is it? Across from City Hall.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying-
Right over there in the
Parque
across from City Hall is the
Okay,
Plaza
de las
Plaza-
Almas is what it is.
Sí.
That's, and they have the market there. We
Papas
like to go-
horneadas.
Oh man, we like to go to Papas y Pacholas.
Sí.
Is the name of the? Oh, they have papas ordeñanos, and they put 2 types of Argentinian sausage, with cheese and
Pineapple.
pineapples. Oh man, it's
What more could
indulgent.
you
It's
want?
sinful. It's fantastic. I love it.
Where is this?
You don't know about it? Oh, go on Thursday through Sunday night. Go over to the town square. Go to.
Oh yeah, you
Plaza
mean
de
when
las
Where the
Almas.
corner
they're
with all
out
the
there
stairs
cooking,
is?
right?
They're all cooking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
The
yeah.
guy in the chef hat has what you need.
Tall,
he has
No
what
white
you want.
kidding. Oh, I'll
hat.
find that guy. So he's got like
Papas y
he's got
Pacholas.
stuffed papas. He's got
It's
stuffed
stuffed
potatoes.
Papas,
Papas y
yep,
Pacholas,
stuffed,
yeah.
stuffed potatoes, I
Oh,
guess.
Papas
dang, yeah.
horneadas.
Call it
You know
with
what?
Yankee tongue.
And not only that, but in that particular area there, those are all like most of them are restaurants, and they have like little tables.
Some
there,
of them
so
are restaurants
some
with
of them- right.
representation in the town square, but some of them are just,
Just
you
like
know,
they're
I think they
solo.
do
They're like-
have
they have
a
a storefront.
A
The block
storefront.
behind, it's
Mhm.
right.
We've never
in
been
front of the
because
church.
it's right there.
Why?
I don't.
So
It's
right,
right there.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
go.
Plus you go down.
I think
to
it's
the-
open Thursday through Sundays.
Right, and then you'll go down there some days and you'll see everybody dancing with the live music.
Yeah.
The attention
Magical
paid
stuff.
to public space,
Oh,
the
man.
importance placed on it, is one of my favorite elements of
Yes.
living here. And any other place, for example, like the stadium, right?
Yeah.
The workout place, they have tracks and baseball fields and a skate park. Tell me, look me in my eye and tell me they wouldn't charge you to get in that place in the United States.
Heck yeah, they would.
Oh man,
The
you're paying
ingenuity.
$5 at least. So,
Yeah.
but the point is, you don't have a real community. You don't have a municipality without spaces like this, without a third place. They talk about the third place in sociology. There's work, there's home, and there's where you are when you're not in either of those places. And I'd much rather that be a skate park or a baseball field or a basketball court
or a library.
Or a library. My God forbid a library.
What's a library again?
What's a library?
Exactly?
Can we go over that for our listeners
a
who
library
may not have
is-
access to one?
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Radical leftist concept where children can get free books.
I can't believe
Oh
it.
man, they should all be banned.
Ban the internet. And that
we're
way
not
you'll
too
get them
far
all
from
back.
it.
Ban the internet, you'll get them all back. Okay, that's
Oh,
how
boy.
that has to
Man,
happen.
oh,
Oh man, oh
Yeah,
man.
Look
Yep.
at me. I'm telling you the truth.
Okay.
I hear you.
I'm looking at
I
you.
hear you. Man, no, I dig it. I never heard that one before.
Well, it's like, remember when you had to go to the library? Now, I remember when I had to go to the library
I'm
before,
just old enough to have done.
before the internet, before computers.
I do too.
Oh no, I did encyclopedia.
No,
research
you
on
had
my
to
school
get
projects.
your
I'm that-
encyclopedia
Yeah.
reference.
And
You
then
had
you
to
had
get your.
You had to get like information from like periodicals. So you had to go to the little periodical section. They had their own
That's
little
right.
AA
index,
through
right?
AC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
then you
so-
had to write a list of
there.
sources and like.
so was that so easy?
I'm convinced that a lot of the problem with the world is that people weren't made to do these projects.
They weren't. It was
Evaluate
too
sources of
confusing.
information and synthesize it into a report resembling the fact that you know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Right?
People need
this
direction.
simple task.
I
taught
almost-
me how to think, and like that's an important skill, don't you think?
Yeah, I would say
Man.
so. Sure.
Versus how much is your phone thinking for you?
Right.
So.
it's
so-
different growing up with
So-
it formatively, man.
I remember when Google came out, I was in 3rd grade, and this kid in my class, Brian D., was like, my dad told me about Google. And we all made fun of him. Or like, that's stupid. What are you saying? That's a dumb word. And now it's a verb we say how many times? I'm trying to
Now
end
Google
it
owns
from
you.
my...
That's
I
right.
don't want it to be in
But
my vocabulary
Spanish, let's
anymore.
do it in Spanish, shall we? Let's do it in Spanish.
Okay.
Google it.
Google.
Google it.
Google it.
Google.
Google.
Okay, yeah. That's
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Google.
Because the E, they don't make that silent in Spanish. So Google it.
Oh,
Google.
okay.
All right.
Google.
All right,
No?
practice. Never mind.
Google it.
No,
I like
Google
it.
it. No,
All right, I
I-
love it. It comes off the tongue so well.
no, it sounds so much better.
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds so much
It
better than
doesn't
Google.
sound dirty anymore.
No,
But it is.
how many corporations are you saying every day without knowing? But how many people are you supporting every day without knowing you're supporting them? Like the whole world is owned by a handful of corporations.
19 families.
So
That's not an
but
exact
we don't
number,
need to get
but
into that
like, it's
today.
illustrative.
I want to talk though. I want to flip the script a little bit because you were talking about technology and all the things, and we talk on our podcast about the internet. Do you think, as currently implemented, is the internet a blessing or a curse?
For the future of humankind.
It all depends.
Okay.
All right, because there are things that are happening on the internet that are looking a little bit kind of freaky, like censorship and whatnot. That's why I promote Podcast 2.0, which is gives the platforms that are in danger of being canceled and taken off the big platforms. It gives
I
those
see.
people an opportunity to speak on it.
Interesting.
And so that's work that's being done by Adam Curry, who is the podfather
Okay.
of podcasting. He and another friend invented the RSS feed. So
Man.
that's kind of where I am as far as the internet. I think that it being open source like it is currently, I would just like to see it that way. Government, keep your hands off, leave it open, and let it go.
How would your childhood have been different had you had access
Totally
to the
different.
internet?
Totally different.
You think
Well,
you would have
just
been a
like-
fundamentally different person?
I'd have been so mean and nasty. Yeah, no, it's true, right? Because when you're growing up without all that stuff, you got to figure out other ways to get your information, and
Or not.
Maybe it's a little bit simpler, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't all have that stuff pounding on you all the time. So yeah, I mean, but I grew up in a world like that. I mean, I was an adult when the first www came out. So I've seen both sides, and yeah,
Mixed
there's-
blessing is what people say mostly.
I would
Yeah.
think that's true.
I mean, it's obviously easy to come up with
What do you
the
think?
positive. I mean, obviously, it's easy to come up with. Oh man, okay.
Oh man, flipping the script again. Hey.
No, but I've never. It's easy to come up with the positive aspects, right? You can press a button and have food appear at your home, and we happen to be on the internet, so
I can
like
teach
I
online
don't have to
through
have
the
a real
internet.
job. Like, okay, there are absolutely positive aspects to the internet. However, the other side of the token is, I think in 50 years, when we imagine giving children unfettered access to the sum total of human knowledge, people are going to be like, that's blanking insane. It's going to be like those pictures that you see of like a kid and he's on his break at the coal mine and he's smoking a cigarette and it's like, what is going on? Where are the adults? I think it's going to be like that. You can't just drop a smartphone into a 7-year-old's hands. That's human malpractice.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What is that?
I love to see parenting nowadays where they're actively looking out for other ways to have their child learn and learn tactical skills and understand how things work and how shapes fit into each other and, climb trees and make up games and have an imagination instead of just having the internet display to you whatever you're going to learn that day. And so I really give out props to all the parents out there who are actually actively aware and involved in their child's upbringing and their education and who are giving them access to things that they have access to everything on the internet, like everything's available there, but it's not curated for them. So if you're curating a specific timeline of education, if you care about your children and you want them to make this place a better world, then you're doing everything. And thank you. Like, I don't have kids, and I might never, because this climate and this environment, this world is not the best place for that. Like, I see kids now, and it's like they didn't ask to be in this world, and yet here they are,
But it's
so hard.
It changes the path of your development, though. I talked to a teacher recently that they teach 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, kindergartners. And she says they come to her class and they can't even glue one piece of paper to the other. They can't cut objects off of construction paper because they've been swiping and thumbing their entire lives.
Right on.
Their entire lives.
Yeah.
And so, like, the smartphone came out when I was an adult. I had a smartphone around the time I had my job as a legal clerk. So, like, these two things coincided. I was an adult. My opinions had formed and ossified in my mind, but like, how do you reconcile giving that same latitude to discover to a child?
It's really difficult, and
so
to tell you, but now having being a father and having two kids who did have cell phones, I didn't give them to them at age 3, and
right,
yeah,
but as an adult, you want to know where your kids are. So that's really the most important thing. I mean, they don't have payphones anymore. When I was a kid, there were payphones on the corner. If I needed to talk to my mom or dad, I could find a phone. But there isn't that happening anywhere. So, but I agree. I mean, there's... but on the other hand, the kid is going to go somewhere else, and he's going to go to another friend's house, and then he's going to have access to everything else. So
to an extent,
really.
Same way I wasn't allowed to watch certain things on TV, and I could go to my friend's house, but it often didn't happen.
Well, because you were a good boy. That's why.
I actually was. I was an A student.
I know
I was an A
I
student too.
I can tell you both were.
Yeah, I started college at
I was a great
16.
student.
And
then I lost interest.
Yeah, definitely way too much of that.
No
Just
one
do
sold
it what
to
it
me
takes to
anymore.
get the A, and I would always be getting like the A+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++
sports and video games, and it's like, this is not as interesting.
I wasn't allowed to play video games growing up, so that was a whole other aspect of it.
Well,
we weren't allowed to do a lot of stuff.
I spent so much of my money in video games. I think I spent my entire
What was your
fortune.
game? Is it? Oh man, tell me about your game history.
No. They're just. That's when I'm a dinosaur, pal. I mean, we were playing.
No, I want to hear the
playing
name of the game.
Pong and all this other shit.
That's what I'm talking
when that all
Yeah,
happened.
that's fascinating, dude.
No, seriously.
An OG gamer.
Oh, indeed. That's where I started way back there.
Okay.
But speaking about, all right, I want to know something because I was reading an article. You wrote it, obviously, about you getting arrested here in Puerto Vallarta.
Oh man,
This was a long time ago. This is like what,
that
maybe
was a
like 3
while
years ago, maybe.
It may have faded off the statute of limitations.
Was it 3? Maybe 3 years?
It was what 5? No, as a matter of fact, it happened 2018. I remember
4
because it
years.
was like a year and a half before everything changed.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I remember the story very well. I was there at the time, allegedly.
What happened?
All right, so with the previous publication, I gained access to a number of festivals and events, and talked my way into an astrophysics conference. At an
What?
oh man,
Whoa. Where was it?
It was at an unnamed hotel on the seashore, which I am not mentioning for apparently my own safety, because in the aftermath of this, I did receive a death threat.
No.
Oh, man. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
That's
All
new
right.
to
All right.
me, man.
We're all leaning in.
No, I'll circle back to that at the end.
Whoa.
So, but the actual arrest part isn't as exciting.
No.
No. It wasn't.
Come on. Can you just throw it? Never mind.
No, these
Yeah, tell
bullets
us
are
the
fake.
truth.
It
Tell us
wasn't a
the truth.
shootout. Okay, so no, there I am waiting for Neil deGrasse Tyson to show up, and I, heard some very interesting things. I'm sure I have the notes written somewhere in another book.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
No,
Man.
it never happened. I didn't make it to lunch, basically. So their lunch came, and I ate 2 of the soggiest burgers and the saddest, what were they, spring rolls of my entire life, all from the buffet, because I'm an invited guest and such. I didn't know that.
You were invited.
But then a hotel security comes over and starts inquiring. Now, this is a very rich, very fancy hotel, and they want to know that you are supposed to belong. And that, I guess, I could not verify, because it turns out, boys and girls, that you should charge your phone before you go on any expedition. Oh, man, you should charge your
man.
phone. Somebody should have a charged phone, because I couldn't get in contact with the event organizer, and now I'm a trespasser. Oh, boy, that's not great. So this, again, is a very rich, very fancy, very high-end hotel. Expats love it. And so the cops were there in 3 minutes. And before long, there I am with my with my wrist cuffed to the back of the cruiser.
Wow.
If you've never seen a police cruiser down here, they have the nice parade float for you to go down the street with.
Right? You can
Right.
wave
You
from
can
the
wave
back
if you
bench
wish. Give them
seat,
a nice
right?
Queen's wave. So I'm speeding
How did
down.
that feel in the bench seat? Was it pretty hard?
It was very uncomfortable, but the wind was nice in my hair. So I always try to look at the positive side of situations. I do
Yes,
remember
you're
there was a
excellent for
very
you.
cooling breeze on my way to a Mexican jail. And so they took me over to, what is it called? I guess I deleted the name from my mind. It's Las Juntas, right?
Yeah, Las
Right.
Juntas, yeah.
Where I did 10 or more for my crimes against humanity. I was not fed or watered during my time there.
So 10 hours? You say 10?
I said 10.
You did 10.
That's what I do when I tell the story. I say I did 10. And let
Oh,
and let
see,
them.
AJ he's aiming for cred, so he's throwing down 10, and then you make
It's
it
the
all
only
up
day
yourself.
of jail I've ever spent in my life.
Well, congratulations, though, right?
Great.
Man.
Everybody's
man,
gotta
they
do that.
removed all my bracelets. Can you imagine how long it took to get all these things
Oh,
off?
my God. Did
That
they
must have
actually
spent another
unknot them, or did
hour.
they cut 'em?
They unknotted them. They were very
Oh,
nice.
wow,
They
this is
processed
so
me in a
cool.
very respectful
That
fashion.
would never happen in the States.
They took a nice
Oh,
mugshot. I wish I had a copy of it. I gave him a good smile.
Yeah, but you did.
Oh, no,
You
I
did.
thought I was still cheeky, and it was like, okay, well, we're gonna be back in 3 hours. You guys gonna come here and talk for you, and they shut the door, and there I was. It was a concrete room. Everything in the room was made of concrete, except the only thing in the room was a toilet, which was made of concrete.
There it is.
Several cockroaches crawled out of it overnight.
Yikes! Oh no!
I was not
You were
fed
not
or
sleeping.
watered.
What? You weren't sleeping?
Sleeping. The lights
you?
were on a concrete floor. There was no bed. Again, there was no furniture. This was a unfurnished apartment.
And you hadn't even had your first drink there, right?
I had,
You were
no,
sober.
they did not
This
give
is
me
stone
anything.
cold sober.
I always have my first drink before I go to an event.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind.
As
Smart
a
man.
secret, I'm always
I know.
pre-gaming.
AJ, I got to hang around with you. I have to hang around with you.
Nah, but they went. So the morning finally came. I was in there for 17 hours at this point or whatever, and they finally bring me this tray of what I think they thought was food. These were gray tortillas.
Oh.
I wrote a book on color, and so I know one thing about color, and that's that tortillas are not in any shade of the gray family. They brought them to me. They were
Unless they're blue corn tortillas.
Oh, that's what they were.
no,
not blue.
those
huh?
are-
Were they
Yeah.
blue corn?
Yeah.
Sure, the
Maybe
Romans didn't
semi-blue.
guard
Maybe
this.
they were just semi-blue.
Oh, man.
They were gray.
They
They
were
were
gray.
slate
Oh,
gray. They
man.
were New York Times gray.
Yikes.
Gray,
Oh,
gray,
yeah. So
gray.
you weren't eating any of that.
No, and egg pellets, which had to be those reconstituted things. And
You say pellets?
Egg pellets, and a bottle of greasy water. Now,
No.
I don't know how the water was greasy, but it was. The bottle outside of it was greasy, and then at that point, I hadn't drank water in 17 hours, so I'm like, I'm going to have a sip. No, water had grease in it somehow. So
Wow.
that was my ordeal. I played catch with a cockroach with my shoe. I drew on the wall. I removed the button from my cargo shorts and drew on the wall with it. I think my autograph may still be in the cell.
Were you sharing your cell with other people?
Actually, it was, I guess, one blessing that they also tossed in my direction. I was alone in my cell, and where the cell next to mine had like 6 people in it. And they saw me go by and all night, hey, Bob Marley, hey, sing us a song, One Love.
Oh,
Like, I'm in
man.
jail, dude. Like, even if I was Bob Marley, I don't feel like singing right now.
like
And on the
Absolutely
cell
not.
on the other side, I'm not sure I can say this. I'm going to say it anyway. On the cell on the other side, they had somebody brought them OXO. I can't say who, but somebody brought them a big OXO bag.
Hey, money talks, even in jail. brother.
Somebody
Always
brought them
has,
OXO.
Always has.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't get any OXO. I got.
They
as I-
probably took all everything out of your pockets, right? 'Cause
Surprisingly, they did not.
Oh, they did not. So he had OXO money.
I got everything back.
All
I got my bracelets back. I got my laptop and everything back. My cords and such. I even got my vaporizer back.
Nice.
Wow.
Oh man,
Oh,
I
wow.
thought that
Very
was
important.
going. That's a nice $300 vaporizer. Shout out to Pax Labs if you want to throw me a sponsorship. That'd be great. But no, seriously, it was a nice vape, man, and
And they didn't mess
they
with you.
didn't
took
take it.
Okay, that's nice.
And they didn't mess with me not one bit. And I'll tell you what, and I'll say it in front of everybody, I would much rather be arrested here than in the United States. I will tell you that much. Man, oh man, that I would not have had that experience at all.
Wow.
It's a totally different vibe, man. And I know that from experience now, based on my time in Las Juntas. The Las
Well,
Juntas Correctional Spa, as I refer to
correctional
it.
spa.
As I refer to it in my...
Correctional spa. Oh man.
Oh, wow, that is crazy. Well, in the United States, you wouldn't get that really fancy, cool ride in the back of a truck.
Oh,
for
no,
sure.
you're getting your head shoved in the back of the Crown Vic.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're
Yeah.
going to jail with 15 other people. You're going in the drunk tank
Uh-huh.
with the drunks.
Uh-huh.
They're drunk.
Oh, yeah.
So, something bad's going to happen.
I've
No.
never been there.
I've never been either.
Did I roll my eyes?
I get all my experience from Law and Order.
There you go.
I watch a lot of TV.
Turn that off. All right, now let's go. Let's ask you where you go for a day trip. Where would you like to go for, if you're going to come back and go somewhere? What's your favorite spot?
Oh, Yalapa. Hands down, no question.
Yeah.
I've never been. I've heard so many things about it. I got it.
AJ's got
we
it.
gotta
Yeah,
go.
Long. You've been there
No,
for-
I've also been here for 5 months. So we gotta go.
How do you get there?
Okay. Oh, man. How you get there is actually one of the best parts. You hop on the water taxi. It's a high-speed thrill ride. You're bumping through the water. You're getting sprayed with the refreshing ocean mist. It's invigorating. And then you get there, and you can either choose to go to one of the beach bars, but you could just go rogue and, bring BYO,
Uh-huh.
And you chill there all day. If you're lucky, the pie lady will come by, sell you one of those delicious lemon meringue pies.
Is that your favorite, is the
They
lemon
are-
meringue?
Oh, man. The lemon meringue's fantastic. Off the charts good.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
good.
man.
That is the
You do
pie
love
down there.
tangy.
If you're really lucky, if you find yourself truly fortunate on that day, both the iguana man and the pie lady will come by, and then you'll have yourself an afternoon.
Right, then you can go home, feeling all fulfilled.
You can feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. If you had a 3-day trip, you ever taken any 3 days?
We're talking as far as Guadalajara or
Yeah,
shorter than
yeah,
that?
Wherever you like.
Okay,
What's
I
your
like
favorite?
Guadalajara.
Yeah. How do you do it?
The bus is really good for that. If you go to the Central Camion and get on the bus, you can get the front row seat that is directly above the driver's seat. So it's basically like you're driving the bus, right?
Okay.
They put you in the window, and it's a really scenic 5-hour ride. You go past the agave fields, and actually you go directly past Tequila, Jalisco, which, the signature spirit is available in... It's freely flowing.
Yes.
Man, they give it to you.
In
and
mega
they give it to you
gallons,
again.
baby. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I learned a lot about tequila there. And
Did you? Yeah, so you survived. And now a lot of people say that, too much tequila. The town is a little bit
the town.
ishy. Maybe is it You can't stay 3 days there, right? You could die.
No,
You would die there. You would
That
die,
was just
right?
a short stop on the way. They had that's the place I learned about the Contarito, which I saw first in the United States with this poor, pale, pathetic version that was in this tiny little cup.
What's a Contarito?
Contarito, I believe it is tequila, obviously, and like grapefruit juice and possibly some club soda.
Okay.
And they serve it to you in this huge clay jar.
Okay.
You've seen this jar.
I've seen the jar.
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So
I've seen that.
that's how it's served. It's not if you're in the States right now and you're buying a $16 Contarito, which they serve to you in a wine glass, just know you got ripped off from every possible angle. Yeah, it visit and also visit tequila on the way here. But yeah, if you're going for 3 days, definitely visit Guadalajara. There's a lot to see in Guadalajara. It's the place in Mexico, I think, the most. I've been, I guess, a few places. And it's the place that most reminds me of, quote unquote, an American city. You know, they have a light rail line, a subway, and if you go, you should really take time out of your day to go visit the canyon. If you've never been to the Grand Canyon, that's it. Go look at the big hole in the ground. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they got a canyon there, huh?
They've got a canyon right on the edge of the city.
Who
It's the
knew?
last stop on the light rail.
Why don't they even
Right?
advertise
You would think
it,
they'd
right?
advertise that.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. Because I saw it online. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go. It's right there on the subway line. It's gonna cost me $2 to get there.
It's on the subway line.
And they sell like sandwiches at the train stop, at the light rail stop.
Yeah.
Going down there.
Do they bathe them and make them look like that other place? No, never mind. But they do. They sell sandwiches. Huh?
They sell sandwiches by the canyon, and you can take the sandwich and get as close as you dare. There's a waist-high gate. You know, you can get close if you like.
Yeah.
I saw people get closer than I did. And, you know,
It's kind of creepy, you know?
I had my portable roller, and I had my sandwich, and I stared at the canyon for a while.
That's very cool.
Oh, man, it was a fantastic afternoon.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, make a note, everybody. I'll find it. I'll find it on a map. I'll put a Google map on it so you guys can find it.
Oh, no, it's very scenic. I even saw, like, the stereotypical eagle flying through the canyon.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Didn't make the screeching noise, but, you know.
Oh man,
Well,
you had to have.
they pay that thing in peanuts, for goodness sake.
Made a cameo. That's funny.
If you had a word of advice for a first-time traveler coming to Puerto Vallarta, what would it be?
Learn Spanish.
Ooh, man. Right there, huh?
That's it.
No, speak on it.
I would say if you can count on your hands the amount of words you know in Spanish, then you got to do better. That's bad. Like, you know, hola, adios, cerveza, cerveza, ¿cómo está? Like, that's not, you got to do, like, I've learned so much just from listening and, you know, reading signs and picking up on context clues and just trying to figure out. And another thing somebody taught me was, like, instead of trying to pick up words in a conversation, just listen to it and let it kind of just absorb like a baby would. And that's how they learn the language, and just try to soak it in kind of through an osmosis method, but also really actively involved. And yeah, I'd say, especially looking the way I do being here, like, if you don't speak a lick of Spanish, you're not going to go very far. People are not going to like you. And
yeah, we've all read those digital nomad go home articles they've started.
You got to
writing
do
recently.
better.
Yeah, I saw some of those.
Like,
well, the
it's
people
really
in Mexico City are
offensive,
the ones
and
that
it's
make it
honestly-
look bad,
I'm sure
right?
the sentiment
it's honestly
is shared
super
locally.
racist. If you're coming here, this is your playground, and you're just going to, like, go in the resort and dance around and, like, I'm scared to leave the resort. Is it safe? Maybe you shouldn't have come. Maybe do some more inner work. Figure it out. You know? Start learning Spanish. I was on Duolingo for a while. Duolingo is not a great app. I will tell you a good app to learn Spanish on. It's Spanish Dictionary, but they cut off the dictionary, so it's Spanish DICT.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Spanish dick.
Well, dict. But
I mean, that'll teach you
it's-
Spanish too.
But this is the app.
what they
You can
say.
access it without Wi-Fi, so you don't need Wi-Fi to have it. You know, so say, like, you can look up anything on there. You can learn a lot. There's, like, you know, you can learn 500 verbs a day, and it'll just keep going. You can keep learning. So my whole advice, if you're coming to Mexico, learn some Spanish.
A little bit.
Before you come.
Explorer level.
Try.
You're not asking for a
Just
lot.
try.
ZiZi, you're brutal.
I don't care.
No,
Okay,
no.
yeah.
I'm sick of it.
Learn to
I
talk
see
to
people
learn
around
to count
here
to
who
100
don't.
at least, right? You know,
Who
come on.
don't.
No, I mean, I would agree. I would support that a little.
Anyway,
because like,
I'm sorry.
Okay,
No, it's
what
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
getting-
this is a podcast. We talk about everything. Okay.
What you're
No, it's
essentially
fine.
Don't let
saying,
me
if
stop
you go to a country and you don't speak the language that people speak, is that you're not interested in speaking with those people at all
Yeah.
on any subject for any reason. So that's weird. Automatically,
Yeah.
it's not a friendly, sentiment. So yeah, sure.
And you just expect
no one's
people
asking
to
you
serve
to give a
and,
dissertation or recite, the Emancipation Proclamation in Spanish. But like, man, could you carry
learn
on?
the basic verbs. How to make,
Yeah.
come,
Can you
go,
help yourself?
drink.
Can you not
eat.
be one of those people who can't find food in a Walmart? Man, oh man, that's pathetic.
That
And
is
then you
pathetic.
posted
You're
about
gonna
it
starve to
online.
death in a
Super
Walmart.
weird.
That's horrible. Try again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, no,
So,
it
yeah,
is. You're
that's
absolutely
my-
right. You know, most of the magical moments that I've ever had are just talking with taxistas. Believe it or not, because
Information.
they all got
They are
great
information
stories.
gods.
And yeah, I've heard some
The
great
savants
stories
of the
from
city.
them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you get in an Uber, they're okay, but the taxistas.
The taxis,
They
know everything.
been here, they see it.
Saben
And
todo,
if they're
no doubt
chatty,
about it.
and if you speak a little Spanish with them,
They'll give you
go for
information.
it. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
They'll
and
tell
they
you
won't
where the
rip you
best
off at the end
taco
either.
place is. They'll
They'll
tell
actually let you, walk off, less than 10 pesos. So it's really, it works pretty good. So short them 10 pesos, they don't care. It's like, wow, this guy's pretty nice.
Oh no! What they do is that if they don't like you, they'll double charge you.
Yeah.
And really, you deserve it.
That's right.
You
That's
you
right.
weren't friendly and nice,
That's
so
right.
you got
but that's
you got the dick
you're
text.
absolutely- you're
Everybody
absolutely
should
right,
work
ZiZi.
in the service industry.
I've always thought that
I
everybody who wants to hold public office or hold influence over people's lives should be required to do like a service or retail job
Something
or
where
hospitality, something where you
Yeah.
have to do something for somebody.
Engage with the public no matter what. You are at work. They can say anything. You have to stay
You
there
gotta
and
sit
take
there.
it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
just
yeah.
whatever the heck they decide to say, you're there for it. And you have to get paid $10 an hour to know what to say correctly.
Yeah,
And
you don't have to tell me
so-
that twice. I worked in retail for 36 years.
Oh, yes.
Man, as a retail employee, you have more
I-
de-escalation skills than the average cop. It's
As
wild.
a server for
That's what
$2.83 an
happens.
hour, which, by the way, my parents did not know I was paid $2.83 an hour as a server
that
for
wild?
many years.
ZiZi here is the one that taught me that 283 is about equal to the effective tax rate. So they're paying you to pay the tax money.
Oh yeah.
So
Really?
your check is zero
What?
void
Yeah.
every
What?
single
What?
time.
So
What?
be nice.
What?
So be nice.
So yeah,
Come
be
on,
nice.
get
Please
a lot,
tip.
Get a lot of money.
We say this on the end of every single podcast. You say, what do you say?
I say tip your next delivery driver well because they work hard for people just like you
Yeah.
at the end of
So-
every podcast.
So yeah, I guess tip and learn Spanish. Okay.
All right, I
All
like
right, there
that.
you go.
That's excellent. What about a word of warning? Got any words of warning?
Word of warning.
Charge your phone. We went over this.
Guard.
Oh, AJ, you nailed it.
No, no,
You
no.
nailed it.
I'll
come up with
no,
another one. You go
that
ahead.
is, if you are, if you're stuck somewhere away from home, and let's say you're on a bus, you get off the bus, and all of a sudden it's like you don't even know where you are, right?
Oh, okay.
And then all of a sudden you don't have a phone.
Right.
That's trouble.
You do
So
a-
you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. You're
I'll-
absolutely right.
I actually have one.
A
I'll be
3-minute
serious.
check.
That's right. Every couple minutes when
Yep.
I'm out and about, I pat my pockets. Do I have this object, that object, that? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you get out of that taxi, if you get out of that bus, if you get off that plane, there's a chance you will never see that item again.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
And what if you lost your thing? The
if-
one thing.
You don't want to
That
lose
one.
your thing.
All right.
Okay. But and that's why I carry a charger in my backpack. So
no doubt about
I,
it.
I
Yeah.
carry it.
Charger Club.
Yeah.
AJ.
No,
Always.
I mean the real
Gotta
charger.
keep-
You got
no,
it.
man,
You
you
have
got
it,
it, got
AJ.
it.
See.
Got a
So what did you say
20,000
earlier
Learn.
about?
Mine looks just
So
like
if you
yours.
had
Don't put it on
had-
the table. No, don't. It'll confuse me.
If you had that charger that day, though, you might not have gone to jail.
He would not have gone to jail.
That's
That's
true.
what he
I
said.
So
learned
that
That's
is
what he
why he's
said.
like a
I carry
walking
charger.
electric
I
battery
carry
pack
cords
now.
and I'm basically a cyborg. You know.
Yeah.
A walking
You're
battery
right, yeah.
pack.
I'll have a picture of him in the podcast show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartravelshow.com. You said that without taking a breath. That was wrong.
We can do some breathing exercises
Why don't you try it
after
again?
this.
I know you
I,
can.
that was my whole voice lesson today. We worked on breathing for a half hour.
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
I made it fun, though. It sounds really boring, but there's ways to make it fun.
No, we all have to breathe.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Well, have I forgotten something? Is there something that we need to talk about that we didn't talk about?
I am actually pleased with them redeveloping the bridge right here. That was so important, and it's so sad. a personal friend of mine actually passed away in that bridge collapse. So it was very, it was sad beyond
it was
belief.
devastating. It was
Yeah,
devastating.
the whole town was devastated by the
I love
loss
that
of Lucy.
family.
Yeah.
I love that family. Yeah.
But, you know, they have done a lot of development with the area, and I assumed the worst when they ripped out this side of the Rio Quale. I thought it was going to be some stupid concrete nothing. But no, they did a pretty good job in making a mixed-use space where people would actually come to, you know, congregate and chill. So that's what I find important, right? When public space is a priority. I mentioned this before, but it's super close to my heart because where else do you go? Where can you go in society without the expectation of spending money? Where are class-free spaces in society? There's only a few. Library, park, beach, jail. That's it.
I want to tag on that. When I first got to Puerto Vallarta, one of the things that surprised me the most was the amount of public space, the amount of access, but also the fact that there's trash cans and public bathrooms everywhere.
Trash cans, man. Wow.
And so coming from Philadelphia, they don't believe in trash cans or public bathrooms.
Well, it's
and so it was crazy to see a place that prioritizes people.
Right.
And
It's
every
a people-scaled
time
city.
Yeah.
every time I walk over each cobblestone, I think about, not every time, but like every time I go out, every cobblestone step.
Oh my God.
No, but I think about how this was placed by hand and like this was made with love and like it was curated by people who are giving back.
Carefully considered.
And carefully consider, maybe they don't, obviously no one loves their, I hope you love your job,
I
but
love my
not
job.
everybody loves their job. And
Not
if
me.
you don't, I hope you find a job that you do love. And if your boss
one.
is a piece of you-know-what, then I encourage you to leave today. All right, I think that's all I want to
It's
say.
all right. Well, you just made half the world homeless.
You know what?
It just made half the world homeless. They'll find new jobs. They'll retrain.
Find a new job.
Yeah,
Or
you
also,
say that now.
I don't know, look into,
It's
you're
funny.
worth
You've never
more.
seen so many
You're
help wanted
worth
signs
more,
in the window,
man.
huh?
That's for sure.
It's
Absolutely.
crazy times to be alive.
It is crazy
It really
time.
is.
What is, how
It-
many different things are,
That's what I find so exciting about being alive right now, though.
Yeah.
The
Historical
potential
event
for
every day.
change is just so potent.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, things are going to shift in our lifetime. And who knows? Hell, you might have something to do with it.
And even in crazy times,
Yeah.
we can all sit together here on the corner of a busy street in Puerto Vallarta and talk about the world, talk about what we do, talk
That's
about
right.
what we bring, right? Because we all bring something. And I just want to thank you both for joining me today and
Man. Thank you for having us. Thank you for making the time. I know,
yeah.
you know,
This has
our
been
first appointment
amazing.
didn't work
Well,
out.
you know
but-
what, AJ, life happens, you know?
Yes, it does.
And
It happens all the damn time.
And I roll with the punches because I deal with Mexicans, you know? When I go interview Mexicans, you know, sometimes they just forget, you know? And so it happens.
It's like
you
a
know?
Everybody's
culture, it's a
human.
cultural de-emphasis on like the importance of work today, right?
Yeah.
Things that need to be done absolutely, or somebody's going to die, will be done.
They will be done.
but
If not,
if
then-
not,
Today.
it might take 3 weeks to get your cable installed. And really, if that's your biggest problem in life, then you're doing pretty good, huh?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us here. You've been a wealth of information as
Oh,
far
this
as
has
knowing
been
how to
great. It's been great.
podcast and
This
everything
flew by.
you've taught
This is
us.
an
Like
hour.
I feel like
probably.
I didn't just meet you, and that's a good review.
Likewise for the two of you. Hey, listen, before we go, let's tell everybody what's the name of your podcast again one more time.
All right.
All right, it is
Cowork
Cowork Life with AJ and ZiZi.
Make sure you look at it. Make sure you download it and listen to it and give these guys a lot of love because they're giving the city that we love a lot of love. And
Nothing but
I
love.
appreciate it. I appreciate it so much.
Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so
You're a
much.
well-reviewed dude. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, AJ and ZiZi. I have links to the podcast and to AJ's book and to all things that we talked about, all the contact information you're going to need. And of course, you'll find that on my website at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. All right. Well, that should do it for today. Stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, just remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us a message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value for value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying, thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else, so do it, really. And when you do take one of these tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, and more. I have links to all of those in the show notes as well. And once again, if you like this podcast, take the time, please, and subscribe. Maybe share, maybe follow. Maybe share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta. Give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have links to the places that we talked about, interesting pictures and more, right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already, all right? All right. Thank you, AJ and ZiZi. I have links, I have pictures, and I have a way for you to subscribe to their cool podcast. You can find all that information in the blog posts and in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. And hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.